So let's click to the content scene and take a look at the first section. So we got a couple of things happening here. We've got this title coming in, this spinning in a 3D motion, and text is fading in. So let's handle that text coming in first. I've kept the structure the same as the last lab, so you should recognize it. So there's a movie clip and it holds 4 sections, and so ActionScript just tells that movie clip to go to the different sections. Each section is its own movie clip as well, so if I double click inside this, I've got my text on its own layer, I've got my circle on its own layer, and I've got my type on its own layer. So if you're going to animate something, it needs to be on its own layer by itself. It also needs to be a symbol, so if you look at this is a graphic, this is a graphic, this is a graphic. So they've been all converted to symbols as well. So when you're animating something, it needs to be on its own layer by itself, it needs to be a symbol. So always make sure you do that. So it's pretty easy to get confused on where you're at. So just make sure that you're conscious of at what place in the navigation you're working in. If we double click, we're in that home content, and this is where you'll be doing the animation for that particular section. If you click one too many, be mindful of where we are. We're in GR home title, so we don't want to do our animation there. We want to do it within this content movie clip. So back to this one. I want the whole thing to take about 25 frames, so I'm going to press F5 on all of the keyframes. Then I'm going to want this to come in about 9 frames. And then, so I'm going to press F6 here, frame 10, and then have the animation happen here. So right click, create motion tween. And then let's just do this in reverse. So I'm going to move this up. So that's moving in reverse. And I'm just going to switch it. It's a little bit easier to just do the opposite, and then right click that section or control click that section and just say reverse keyframes. And so now that's coming in the correct way. There's more backtracking if you do it the other way, so I think that's a pretty good trick. Now if we take a look at this, kind of comes in. It's a little, it's fine. Comes in. But we're going to use a principle called easing to make that animation not as rigid. When elements move in space, they don't move at the exact same speed. They tend to slow in speed depending on whether they're leaving or coming in. So this one's coming in. And so let's add some ease to make that a little bit more natural. So what you need to do is click the tween. So you want to click that blue area up there. Not the object this time. You just want to click the tween. Notice that the properties panel changes. And here, if it's toggled, if it's not toggled, you'll need to toggle it. And we want to change this ease to, just click and drag to the right. So it's a positive 100, and it says out. So we're easing out, which means that it's going to start off faster and slow down as it gets to the end of that animation. And it's pretty subtle, but you can see a difference if you look for it. So it kind of slows down. Now the opposite is if you want it, let's click the tween again. If you want it to ease in, that means that it's slow at first and then it speeds up. So if you're taking off, you're going away, you want to ease in. If you're getting there, if you're coming in, then you want to ease out. So I'll ease out, and so that should just come right in. The next thing I want to do is animate this text in. Fades in and it just slightly moves down. So that's on the text layer. I might want to block the title so I don't mess that up. And I don't want this to start until about frame 6. So I'm going to click and let go, and then click, hold, and drag that keyframe to frame 6. That way it just doesn't exist until that point in time. Now I want it to go for a little bit, up until about frame 14. So I'm going to press F6 just to cap off that animation. The reason I do that is just it gives me a little bit more versatility. I can change the pace of this without having to worry about the end result here. So I've capped that off, and then I'm going to right click and say create motion tween. Okay, so the first thing I want is for this to be slightly invisible, so I'm going to go to my properties. I'm going to click the object, go to my properties, and take the alpha down to about 10 or so, and then go to the end of that tween and make it back to 100. Okay, and I want that to move a little bit, so I'm going to go up here and move that up, and then move that back down so it has a little bit of movement. And just like we did with this title, we want to put a little ease in there, so I'm going to click the tween, so that blue box up there, and then drag right to 100, so ease out 100. Let's test that. So it looks pretty nice. It's fading in and moving.